Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the It Takes a Village podcast. I'm Ashley, your host. This is where the struggles are real, the callings are heavy, the kids are sticky. We come together because it takes a village, and this is your tribe. Hey, what's up, guys? It is officially summer's end, at least for most of us. I think in Texas it doesn't quite feel that way because my AC is really having trouble keeping up with the heat outside. It's been in the hundreds. I think today it was 102, but the feels like temperature was 110. So it's insane to be back at school, but yet it feels so much like summer. I was going to say something else and then I decided just to say summer, but you know what I mean. It's super hot. Anyways, I thought that with all these posts that I'm seeing on Facebook of my friends having little ones going to kinder for the first time, I thought I would share some tips on surviving your first day of kindergarten. And it's a big deal. Like, I remember my kiddo, and at my school, it's a little bit different because my son goes to a Montessori school, and it's multi-age classrooms, and so each classroom has 3 ages. So he's been in his class for 3 years. So it wasn't like he was home with me and then he went to school the first time. He had been in this class for 2 years when he was going into quote-unquote kinder, which would be his last year, which now he's doing it again. He's a second-time kindergartner, which we're super excited about, and we think that it's going to be a great boost of confidence for him, and also really help him in the areas that he's just needs a little extra help and push in. But for most of you, you've had your babies home all their lives until now. I mean, when I had our firstborn, I kept her home until I had to let her go. You know, I did Mother's Day out and that sort of thing, but yeah, it's tough. And I think it weighs more on us than it does on them. So let me get to some of these tips, and hopefully they help you guys if you haven't already dropped your little one off at school. If you have, it'll be okay, Mama. You got this. I'm sure they had a great, awesome first day. But for those of you who haven't gone to school yet, here are some tips that I have for you. Okay, so the first one I know is really hard for us to do because, like I said, it still feels sort of like summer at this time of the year, and we aren't really ready to give it up yet. And so you're going to hate me when I say this, but getting back into a routine a week before school starts is super helpful because it already just throws them for a loop, having to get up, be somewhere, be dressed. If you don't want to be the mom that says to put on your shoes 10,000 times in a morning of what is an already stressful morning for your kiddo, especially for those who have more anxious kiddos, you don't want to pile it on by not having prepared them for this, to where all of a sudden you wake up Monday morning, you're like, hey, we got to go. We got to get out the door. So something that I do, and I usually don't do this on the first day because I don't know exactly what needs to be done. I usually do this maybe 2 or 3 days into the first week, is I come up with some sort of routine. And for my kiddos, I found this printable schedule of things to do for the morning and then after school. And you can put it in a frame, and then they can use a whiteboard to mark stuff off or whatever. But you can go over with your little one, either using pictures or telling them what each one means, and saying it's brush your teeth, make your bed, put on your shoes, whatever your routine needs to be. And you could put it right outside their door or somewhere where they can see it. And this helps, especially your little ones who get distracted. The ones like my son, who I have to tell 1,000 times, remember what that one thing was that you're supposed to do. This helps them to keep track, especially of your older ones. If you have multiples that you're going out the door, and you have a kindergartner, they totally feed off of your vibe. So if you're anxious, if you're trying to throw stuff together, you're rushing out the door, you're hurry up. This is affecting them. That affects them, it does for us when we are rushed out the door. We forget things. We feel anxious. We have all these emotions. So why shouldn't we expect that from our little ones too, So especially for our kindergartners who this is their first round, this is their first time to get out the door, to go to school, you don't want all of your lack of preparedness to be brought upon them. So whether it's creating some sort of schedule or, like I said, a week before school starts, getting into the routine of this is bedtime, this is wake up time, then and talk about it. Like when school starts, hey guys, like we're going to wake up and we're going to eat breakfast and then we're going to get our shoes on. We're going to have time to say a little prayer before we go out the door or, whatever it is. Obviously don't add in too much because, girl, if you overextend yourself, I promise you it will not happen. I always aim to get out the door at like 8:15. I don't get out the door until like 8:30. So keep it as short as possible, but also have a plan in your head. Like in my head, I already know in the morning while I'm brushing my teeth, while everybody's still sleeping, what I'm going to make for breakfast, what's going to go in the lunches. So that way, when I get in there, I'm not just staring at the refrigerator. If you're even more prepared, you'll have lunches packed the night before. You'll have breakfast ready to go, whatever. Being prepared is the key thing, or at least thinking about it. Just so that way you aren't rushing and scrambling and already building on top of their anxious little nerves. This next tip hits home for me, and I'm going to jump around with my tips here a little bit as they come to mind. But as working in a school atmosphere, school setting, and we have lots of parents with little ones come in, my number one stressor to you is that no matter how hard it is, how thick that lump in your throat is, how teary-eyed your little one is, your teachers know how to handle first-timers. Like they know. And if you're lucky, you'll get a super, super veteran teacher who won't even let you in the door to the classroom. And that is super smart. And that's super strategic on their part. So don't think that they're blocking you or that they're being rude. These teachers know what they're doing. They've been through this 1,000 times, and it's for your child's sake. They know that as much as the kids are nervous, the parents have all the feels even more. So if your teacher is clearly wanting you or signaling you like it's time to go, it's time to cut it short, or they don't want you in the classroom, respect their wishes because it makes for an easier break between you and your child. If your child is like throwing a fit, if they're crying, you hanging around does not make it better. It makes it more uneasy, like there's an option that they can go home with you. And it sets them up worse for the rest of the week because then they think that that's a continued option. And I guarantee like 99% of the time, once you leave, your kid will cry for like 10 minutes maybe, and then they'll get distracted by some other children, by some other activity, and then they'll totally forget about whatever happened. And this happens for like a week, and then after that, it's a-okay. But it's just this natural process that they have to go through of like, oh, this is a new thing, but mom always comes back or dad always comes back. But it takes time for them to get that because they don't just know that, naturally. But if you linger, then that gives off feelings of, wait, am I not in a safe place? Like, should I not trust mom leaving? If mom's worried about leaving, why, that makes the kid feel uneasy. Also, prolonging goodbyes, like if you ever dropped your kid off at a sitter or whatever, it just never goes well. The 10,000 hugs that you give, as much as you feel like they're, making it better, it doesn't. It does the opposite for them of prolonging this tie that needs to be cut. And the sooner it happens, the better, because the sooner that they can move on, get distracted, and be okay. So that's the hardest part for you, is that you have to restrain yourself, do what's best for your kiddo, respect your teacher's wishes, let them take the lead in this because they will know. Now, if you have a newer teacher, they might not know how to handle these situations or cut a parent off, which I've seen that happen too, and it makes for a really brutal goodbye. So hopefully you have a seasoned teacher, or at least a teacher that's aware of this and like has a plan for it, even if she's new. But yeah, like you just have to say goodbye and say, choose your words wisely if that makes you feel better. Like saying, see you later. Can't wait to hear about your day when I come back to get you. Like, you don't have to say goodbye. You don't have to say I can't wait to pick you up and hear about your day. Like this positive ending is the best way to do it. And then to leave and just walk away. If they catch you sneaking, like kids, it's the worst when a parent tries to like huddle around the window or the door, telling the kid that like they've left and pretending that they've left, and then now all of a sudden the kid sees them. It starts to cycle all over again. So don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your kiddo. And it'll just break your heart, you seeing them cry, because we're mamas. We just want to fix everything, and they're totally okay, but you have like it's just this awkward position that you put yourself in, the teacher in. So say your goodbyes, walk out, and then cry in the parking lot, and then when you come back, it'll be great. And maybe they'll be emotionally exhausted, because that's a lot. It's a lot to have to go through this new process, and also the stimulation of meeting all these new friends, doing all these new activities. But it's something that they have to learn to cope with, because this is school. Like, this is going to be their part of their life for years to come. And there's going to be situations where they're, growing up and they're in a new atmosphere, and they need to be able to learn to handle those situations. I mean, so it's harder on us than it is the kiddos. And so I can't stress this tip number 2 of keeping your goodbyes short and sweet, handling your tears out in the parking lot. And we have parents that call up to the school to check on the kiddos, and that's totally fine. Like, we understand that. We're not dehumanizing. I don't know. Like, we totally understand that. We're all moms, ourselves. And so I know that now teachers are really good with apps and communicating with parents of, hey, this is what they're doing on the first day of school, or sending out an email, and reassurance is always nice. So feel free to do those things. Don't tell your teachers I told you it was okay to do those things, but if you're that concerned, that's what you can always do, is reach out to the teacher by email, on the app that you have, or the texting connection that you have through the school, or calling up there and saying, hey, I just want to check on my kiddo, just to calm my nerves, so that is a huge, huge thing. Okay, my tip number 3 sounds super silly, but you wouldn't imagine how hard it is. We buy all these cute little new things, and we make it a big deal. We go school shopping. It's like this huge deal, and they pick out their backpack and their lunchbox and all these goodies and all these containers and gadgets. It sucks when you're a child and you get to school and you can't open anything, or you don't know how to work anything, or it's like all these things. So before you take the tags off, before you send them to school with all these new things and containers, have them do a trial run of opening the backpack. Have them do a trial run of opening their containers for their lunchbox. I remember one year I got reusable baggies that were like Velcro. They Velcroed shut. And my child could not open it without everything like just flying out of it. So that was obviously a no-go. And then also I bought these like lunch containers. They had the snappy lids that looked like my favorite ones are Sistema. So if you have a kiddo, Sistema containers from Target are awesome. I think they sell them at maybe the Container Store as well. But I tried to go with like this off-brand mock-up type, and it was way harder for my kid to like snap it shut. And I had no idea, because I just assumed they look the same, they felt the same, they seemed the same. I assumed that they could be used the same, and that was wrong. So that's the last thing that you also want, is to like give your kiddos these containers, or the backpack they can't zip, or a lunchbox they can't open. So before you take all the tags off, do a trial run of like putting things in the backpack, putting the lunchbox in the backpack, making sure the water bottle fits, all those things, and making sure it works for them before you commit to it or send them to school with it, because that just stinks for like I said, if my kiddo took that Velcro reusable baggie to school with his chips, like he would have lost his mind if he would have opened it and it just would have flown all over the classroom. Okay, as you know, I hop all over the place when I give you guys these tips, but I just thought about this, and she's been on the podcast before, Natasha Daniels. She's a child therapist. She specializes with children who have like anxiety, OCD, things like that. So if you're dealing with a kiddo who is going to have an extra hard time for kindergarten, I really, really suggest that you go to her website, and she has a video to prepare your anxious child for kindergarten. And obviously, I can tell you the tips that I think will be helpful, but if you have a child like that, I would highly suggest listen to somebody who knows what they're talking about, please. But if you go to anxioustoddlers.coom /first day of kindergarten, there you can see her video, or just search her website. Go to anxioustoddlers.com and search first day of kindergarten. I'll be able to put the link in the show notes for this episode, and then also I'll try to put it in the description when you go to iTunes and you look at what this episode is about. I'll try to put the link there, but I think that links aren't clickable, so you can at least see it, but you won't be able to like click on it and it take you to her website. And I think this is my last tip, unless I think of something else before I end this recording, but go over your child about ways they can communicate with the teacher. So if they've never been to a Mother's Day out, if they've been at home with you the whole time, they might not know that they need to raise their hand, or that there's a certain system to go to the bathroom, to ask a question, or if they need something from their teacher. So when you go to meet the teacher, find out what that system is and then talk with your child about it. Practice how to do that, like what it would look like in the classroom with them. Talk to them about certain situations that they would need the teacher or to talk to the teacher, because they may not know. And if they have to go to the bathroom, if it's a shy child, they might be too afraid to raise their hand, or they might not know that they should just say, I have to go to the bathroom, without knowing what the system is that the teacher has in place. And, so it's good to ask the teacher what those systems are, go over it with your child, prepare them, and practice, because it's a new skill. Okay, so I thought of something else, and this makes my heart happy more than it probably does my kids. But because it's so hard on us leaving our kiddos at school, it makes me feel better to give them a piece of me while I know that I'm not there. So for my older kid, that can actually look like a note in their lunchbox. But for my younger kid, it could look like a picture of a heart and then the words mom or a smiley face. Like if my kindergartner can't read, I'm just going to draw them a picture that's really cute and sweet and sneak it in their lunchbox, and they'll know it's from me. And there's something about that reassurance of being separated from your child and being able to look at the clock and knowing that around this time they're looking through their lunchbox, they're going to see that note from me, and then I hope that it brings a smile to their face, or at least a sense of comfort, and then it also will bring a sense of comfort to me. And heads up, if your kids act super misbehaved once they get home after the first week of school, that is totally normal. It's kind of like they've used up all their discipline during the day, that when they get home they just need to let it out. And I'm telling you right now, it'll be a nightmare for a while, but it's completely normal, and just a heads up. Those are my tips. I know you guys can probably find those anywhere, but I wanted to make them easy for you to access. Also, if you follow me in my wellness highlights little icon, I went over some vitamins that I believe are crucial for back to school wellness, to keep your kiddos well when they are being exposed to all these new germs in a new classroom and all these new kids. So if you don't already follow me on Instagram, you can find me on Instagram at the Ash Carroll, and check out the highlights. That's where I saved my wellness vitamin tips for back to school. They're also crucial for you as well. So I hope that was helpful. I will be thinking of all you mamas with little ones going back to school and praying for you. And I've been thinking about the teachers and praying for the teachers as well. But I hope you guys have an awesome first week with your kiddos, even though it sucks they're growing up so dang fast. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Catch you guys next time.